Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to take a closer look at another truly disturbing case, one that shook an entire town and changed the law forever. If you find these stories important and want to support what we do here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps more than you know. Now, let's get into it. Catherine Jenna Sepich, known simply as Katie to her family and friends, was born on July 18th, 1981, in the sun-baked town of Carlsbad, New Mexico. She was the eldest of 3 children in a tight-knit, loving family. Her parents, Jay and Jane Sepich, were known in their community as kind, hardworking, and deeply committed to raising their kids with values that mattered: integrity, education, and compassion. Katie embodied all of those things. From an early age, she showed a natural brightness. Teachers remembered her as curious, diligent, and always the one who raised her hand first in class. She wasn't just book smart, she was kind, too. Katie stood up for classmates being bullied and volunteered at local shelters with her church group. She was, in every sense, the kind of daughter any parent would be proud to have. As she grew older, her interests became clearer. Katie was drawn to the sciences, especially economics and psychology. She had an analytical mind, and she liked solving problems. By the time she graduated high school, she was in the top percentile of her class and had received offers from several universities. But Katie didn't want to stray too far from home. She chose to attend New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, a few hours' drive from her hometown. It was the perfect balance, far enough to be independent, close enough to come home whenever she missed her family. Rather than living in the dorms, Katie rented a small 2-bedroom apartment just off campus with a close friend. Their setup was modest but warm, filled with posters, books, and inside jokes scribbled on sticky notes on the fridge. Katie had her own room, her own schedule, and for the first time, her own life. It didn't take long for her to shine there. 2. Professors quickly noticed her work ethic. She made friends easily and joined academic clubs, student volunteer groups, and even started mentoring younger students in economics. People were drawn to her not because she tried to stand out, but because she made others feel seen. In her junior year, something changed. That's when she met Joseph Bischoff Joe, as most people called him. Joe was a senior studying biochemistry, with dreams of returning to Albuquerque to help run his family's pharmacy business. He was smart, confident, and outgoing, the kind of guy who lit up a room the second he walked in. But when he spoke to Katie, something about him softened. Their connection was quick. They talked for hours that first week. By the end of the month, they were inseparable. Friends said they'd never seen Katie happier. Within a few months, Joe had introduced her to his parents, and Katie did the same. Both families approved of the match. Joe seemed serious about his future, and more importantly, serious about Katie. Right before he graduated, Joe did something unexpected. He proposed. It wasn't flashy, just a quiet dinner, a simple ring, and a heartfelt promise. Katie said yes without hesitation. With 1 year left in her program, they made a plan. She would finish school. He would move back to Albuquerque and get things set up, and when she graduated, they'd get married. The future was bright. Katie was in love, on track to graduate, and full of hope. No one knew that everything would unravel in a single night. It was the last weekend of summer before classes resumed for the fall semester, Saturday, August 30th, 2003. Katie's fiancé, Joe Bischoff, had returned to Las Cruces from Albuquerque to spend the Labor Day weekend with her. He'd arrived the day before, and for nearly 24 hours straight, the two had been inseparable, laughing, cooking, catching up, and simply enjoying each other's company. That night, they planned to attend a college house party hosted by one of Katie's classmates. It was the kind of gathering typical of any university town: loud music, crowded rooms, red plastic cups filled with cheap beer. Dozens of students had packed into the house. Many planned to stay the night. It was supposed to be just another fun evening among friends. Katie, Joe, and her roommate arrived around 8 p.m. Witnesses say the atmosphere was energetic and friendly. Katie was smiling, relaxed. She hadn't seen Joe in weeks, and this was a rare chance to just be together. But sometime past midnight, something changed. The details are blurry, probably because most of the people there were drinking heavily. But those who remembered said they saw Katie and Joe in a heated argument. Some said it was about another girl, someone Joe had been flirting with. Others recalled seeing that girl kiss him right in front of Katie. What's clear is that it upset Katie deeply. Around 3 a.m., she suddenly decided to leave. No goodbyes, no explanation. She just grabbed her things and walked out into the night. Her roommate didn't stop her, neither did Joe. In fact, no one did. Most assumed she just needed to cool off, that she'd be back once things calmed down. After all, her phone, purse, and keys were still inside the house. She'd left everything behind. Katie didn't have a car. Her apartment was about 1.5 miles away, a 30-minute walk, at best, through quiet residential streets. No one offered to walk with her. No one followed. She was all alone. Hours later, that decision would haunt everyone. By the next afternoon, Sunday, August 31st, Katie still hadn't returned. Her roommate called the Sepich home, asking if Katie had decided to visit her parents. But Katie wasn't there. She wasn't anywhere. That sinking, gut-wrenching feeling started to set in. The feeling that something was terribly, horribly wrong. Katie Sepich had vanished without a trace. That same day, August 31st, 2003, just hours after Katie's parents were told she hadn't come home, a phone call came into the Las Cruces Police Department. A group of hunters had stumbled across something horrifying near the edge of town. In a landfill, it was the body of a young woman, left face down in the dirt. Her clothes were torn, her jeans pulled down to her ankles. She was badly bruised. Her skin showed signs of intense heat burn marks across her back and arms. Someone had tried to set her on fire. When investigators arrived on the scene, they knew immediately this wasn't just a random death. This was a crime of aggression, of violence, of cruelty. The woman had no ID, no purse, no phone, but a missing persons report had just been filed that morning for Katie Sepich. Her father was called in to make the identification, and even though the condition of the body was devastating, he knew it was her. Just like that, the Sepich family's world collapsed. An autopsy revealed the truth behind what had happened. Katie had been sexually assaulted and strangled with bare hands. The cause of death, mechanical asphyxiation. There were defensive wounds all over her body. She had fought hard to survive. Under her fingernails, forensic examiners found traces of skin and blood, likely from her attacker. It was a painful but vital discovery, because that DNA would become the key. Investigators sent the biological samples to the national database and waited. But the match never came. That meant only one thing. The person who had done this, who had taken Katie's life in the most brutal, personal way imaginable, had never been arrested for a violent crime. At least, not one that required DNA collection. It was a devastating setback, because even with a full DNA profile, they had no name, no match, no suspect. Meanwhile, a detail was missed, a crucial one. Gabriel Avila, a man with a violent past, had been arrested just 2 months after Katie's death for breaking into a woman's apartment and attempting to assault her. But no DNA was collected. The system failed, and for years, Katie's killer remained free. The months that followed were unbearable. Katie's family mourned, while the town of Las Cruces fell into quiet panic. The university year had just begun, but everything felt different now. Young women stopped walking alone after dark. Parents called more often. Doors were double locked, and no one forgot what had happened to Katie Sepich. The police worked tirelessly, but there were no breaks. They canvassed the neighborhood, reviewed party footage, searched for anyone who might have seen Katie walking that night. 2 surveillance cameras had captured fragments of her walk home. She wasn't running. No one appeared to be following her. Nothing at all seemed out of place. Then came the oddest part. Just outside her apartment window, police found her shoes. One of them was lying directly beneath the bedroom window. The other was tossed a few feet away. Investigators believe Katie arrived home, realized she had no keys, and tried to climb through her window. That's where he found her, where he struck. The gravel beneath the window was disturbed. Small rocks were scattered. Traces of that gravel were later found embedded in her skin. It painted a terrifying picture. While she struggled to get into her own home, someone attacked her, dragged her away, and vanished into the dark. Still no suspects, no witness, no match in the database. The case stalled. But then, almost a year later, something happened. Something 500 miles away. In July 2004, police in Green Bay, Wisconsin, were called to a scene that shocked even the most seasoned officers. A young woman had been found near death, beaten, burned, assaulted, and left for dead, but by some miracle, she survived. After days in critical condition, she woke up, and she remembered everything. She told detectives she'd been attacked by 2 men, both of Latino descent. They'd stolen her bag, beat her, choked her until she blacked out, then tried to set her body on fire. They thought she was dead, but she wasn't. Thanks to her testimony, police released composite sketches of both suspects to the media. The drawings were shared across Wisconsin, on the news, in newspapers, and online. That very night, a farmer recognized the faces. He called the police and gave them 2 names, Gregory Morales and Giovanni Niatu. Both were seasonal workers, both had criminal records, and both had spent time in New Mexico. Investigators thought they might have found the break they were waiting for. After identifying the suspects from the Green Bay attack, police wasted no time. They issued warrants, sent alerts to nearby states, and began what would become a 3-month manhunt. Eventually, far from Wisconsin, both Gregory Morales and Giovanni Niatu were arrested in Atlanta, Georgia. The media ran with the story. 2 suspects, similar crimes, a direct connection to New Mexico. Investigators and Katie's family were cautiously hopeful. Could this be it? Police obtained DNA samples from both men. Everyone held their breath. But when the lab results came back, the match wasn't there. Their DNA didn't match the profile found on Katie's body, not even close. It was a crushing blow. While Morales and Niatu were charged for the Wisconsin attack, they had no connection, none to Katie's case. The momentum collapsed, and once again, the investigation into Katie Sepich's murder stalled. But her family refused to give up. Jay and Jane Sepich began to speak out, appearing in local media, doing interviews, pushing for reform. Their daughter's story, they believed, should not be buried with the case. They focused their energy on a single goal: change the law. At the time, law enforcement officers in New Mexico couldn't compel suspects to provide DNA unless formally charged or convicted. But the Sepichs argued if that had been done in Katie's case, her killer could have been caught years earlier. And they were right. For more than 3 years, the case remained cold. Katie's DNA file sat in the national database, waiting for a match that never came, because the man who killed her had never been entered. Until December of 2006. That winter, a DNA sample submitted from a new arrest finally triggered a hit. It matched the unknown profile from Katie Sepich's body. The name that came back was Gabriel Avila, a convicted felon, a repeat offender, someone who shockingly had slipped through every crack in the system. Avila had a history: armed robbery, drug distribution, and 2 prior arrests for assault against women. But in each of those cases, no DNA was collected. He had never been entered into the system. Even more disturbing, Avila had been arrested just 2 months after Katie's death. He had broken into a woman's apartment while she slept, tried to assault her, but failed when her roommate screamed and called the police. He was caught, taken into custody, but thanks to a legal technicality and a defense lawyer working the system, he was released on bond and vanished. No conviction, no DNA, no justice. The most haunting part, he owned a pickup truck, the same type of vehicle investigators had suspected back in 2003, when tire tracks were found near Katie's body at the landfill. No one had followed up. When detectives found him in 2006, he was shocked, but not for long. The key was a ring. Katie's engagement ring, missing since the night of her murder, had been found in the glove compartment of Avila's truck. His ex-wife had discovered it years earlier. It wasn't her size, and she suspected he was cheating, so she kept it as proof. When detectives showed him the ring, he broke. Gabriel Avila confessed. He told them that on the night of August 30th, 2003, he had been high on methamphetamine. He saw Katie walking alone, offered her a ride. She refused. But when he saw her struggling to climb through her apartment window, he followed. and attacked. He raped her, strangled her with his bare hands, then loaded her body into his truck, drove to the landfill, and tried to burn the evidence. He took the ring because it looked expensive. In May 2007, nearly 4 years after Katie's death, Gabriel Avila finally stood trial. The evidence was overwhelming. The DNA, the confession, the ring, the tire tracks, the gravel embedded in Katie's skin, it all led to one conclusion. He was guilty. The trial didn't last long, and in the end, the jury delivered their verdict, guilty on all counts, including rape, murder, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. Gabriel Avila was sentenced to 70 years in prison, no possibility of parole. Katie's parents were in the courtroom that day. They didn't cry, they didn't cheer, they just held each other and exhaled. After 4 years, they could finally breathe. But for Jay and Jane Sepich, justice wasn't enough, not anymore. Because what haunted them most was that this didn't have to happen. Gabriel Avila could have been stopped. He had already been arrested once. Had the law required a DNA sample back then, just one cheek swab, Katie would still be alive. So they started to fight, not with anger, but with purpose. The Sepichs began working with lawmakers, telling Katie's story across the country, appearing on TV, testifying in courtrooms, and urging change. In 2011, their work paid off. Katie's law was signed into legislation in New Mexico, making it mandatory to collect DNA from anyone arrested for certain violent crimes. It wasn't long before other states followed. Today, over 25 states have adopted some version of Katie's law. One family's grief became a national movement, and one young woman's name became a symbol of hope, reform, and justice. Katie Sepich never made it home that night, but because of her, thousands of others might. Some stories stay with you, not because of how they ended, but because of how they could have ended differently. Katie Sepich was smart, she was driven, she was loved, and she was so close to making it home that night. But she didn't. Her death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wake-up call, a moment that exposed how broken the system was and how much it needed to change. And thanks to her parents, thanks to their strength, their refusal to stay silent, that change actually happened. Katie's law has saved lives and will continue to do so. If there's one thing we can learn from this case, it's that justice doesn't always come quickly. But when people fight for it, it comes. Thank you for watching today's story. If this case moved you, consider sharing it. It helps keep Katie's memory alive and maybe helps protect someone else. This is James. Take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one.